Hey, 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 I got a condo in Manhattan. Baby girl, what's hattin'? You and your ass are invited.
Then it will become part of a habit. Pandemic, with many workers forced to.
You have a very, very nice British accent.
In England at some point because your accent's just so good. I would just ignore them because your accent's brilliant. And this is the first thing that I said to you before you even asked me these questions.
自我对比完毕，方法分享开始。
So, as you could see, my English has turned from something quite American to something quite British. I'm not saying which accent is better because there are so many different kinds of English accents around the world, and none of them is better than any other actually. So just choose the one that you like. And I received quite a lot of direct messages asking, how did you change your accent from one way to the other? So today I'm going to talk about it. But before we start, a quick disclaimer. One part of this video is sponsored by Cambly. Okay, let's get into it. So tip number 1 is to listen. I think I've mentioned it in my previous videos about how to learn English, because English learning, as any language learning, is the combination of input and output. That's why I recommend you listen to English songs, TV programs, or whatever, movies, anything you like. But you don't have to sit there and concentrate on whatever you're listening to. Just keep them on the background. That's what I often do when I'm on the tube, when I'm running, or when I'm doing nothing, goofing around. Just keep it on the background. And one day you might become surprised with how familiar you've become with the content you've been listening to. For example, if you see the word B-O-W and you have no idea how to use it, here's the song. Take a bow. So here, after listening to the song by Rihanna, you know how to use the word bow. It usually goes with take a bow, like this. Okay? Right, next one. If you can't differentiate between dessert and desert, you can listen to this song. I just jumped to the part.
What you gonna do with that dessert?
So, did you hear it? Dessert. Dessert. So that's for tip number 1, and tip number 2 is to imitate what you hear. This is particularly helpful for whoever is struggling with intonation. By that I mean you could read each single word perfectly well, but when you try to read a sentence or an article, you might find it difficult to sound natural or sound native.
Lesson 2.
Lesson 2.
Breakfast or
Breakfast or lunch?
I've just arrived by train,
she said.
I'm coming
to see you.
I'm having breakfast, I repeated. Dear me, she said.
Okay, so it's this dear me. I used to think this is so dramatic that no one is going to say it. But I was wrong, because when I was translating for a costume designer from the Royal Opera House, I took her to a Chinese restaurant. Okay, like a whole bunch of people went there. And when she found there were fishbone in her dish, her first reaction was, dear me! It brought me immediately back to lesson 2. Sorry, just in case you want to speak or you want to learn American accent, I highly recommend Modern Family because that's where I learned my American accent. Tip number 3 is to practice with native English speakers. I know this might sound quite distant for some of you, but trust me, a lot of students who study in English-speaking countries might not have as much opportunity as you think in terms of practicing with local people. That's because if they live with their countrymen wherever they go, they still don't have this language environment. You might disagree, but that's how I feel and what I saw. But if you don't have access to this language environment, I highly recommend Cambly. This is an app with which you could log on anytime to talk to native English speakers within different 15 minutes time slots. And Cambly is very kind to offer 15 minutes free trial to Juan Magique subscribers. You can find the link in the description box and in the comment section down below. What's even better for me is that if you have specific accent preference, you could filter the accents in this app. So you could talk to native American English speakers or British English speakers or African, Australian, any accent that you love. So if you're interested, give it a try. It's free. I've tried it and I love it. Number 4 is to be confident when you speak English or any other foreign language that you learn, or actually in your native language public speaking. This might help. I know that a lot of you might be scared in terms of speaking a foreign language. I completely get it. When I first started learning French, I was unbelievably scared before talking to any native French speaker. I remember once when I was on the tube, I was reading, and then it was a French book, Le Petit Prince, and then I didn't notice, but there was a guy who was sitting right next to me, and then he said something to me in French, and we had a conversation in French after that, a very patchy one actually, because my French was at beginner level. It was that conversation that made me realize that no one is going to judge me because I am a foreigner who's trying to learn another language. So next time, if you got scared, nervous, uncomfortable before you speak any language, any foreign language, just think about what I said. Don't be scared. You're doing great. High five! Right, so that's today's 4 tips on how to speak or how to practice English speaking. I hope this video is helpful to you and I hope you learned something. I'll see you next time. Bye!